Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. P.I.L.L Method stands for Prepayment of Principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. And today, we are going to jump right into understanding all about the P.I.L.L method. The P.I.L.L method explained. But first of all, I got to say good morning. I got to say good morning to Mr. Dwayne Ross, who's watching us is on YouTube this morning. And Colette Bryant, you're here. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. Dwayne Ross says, I am a new affiliate, but haven't been onboarded yet. Who should I contact? You will get an email, sir, about explaining to you what's happening, and you'll be informed as to when we do trainings. We do trainings once or twice a month. All right. Listen, he says, I love the intro, by the way. What broadcasting system are you using? You know we're using StreamYard. All right, folks. Listen, Carolyn Dorsett says, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Bobby Bow. Listen, Melissa L is here. Good morning, Melissa. All right, folks. Listen, we're going to be bringing some people on this morning. We're going to start with, do you remember me always talking about my 10K card? You see right under my name here, ice10k.com. I'm wondering if you wonder where that comes from. So what we're going to do, folks, we're going to bring on the founder of 10K Cards. It is the most powerful digital business card on the planet. And he's going to come and talk to us about a special event that he's coming out. He's going to be first online. So we want to make sure that I can get the link for StreamYard to invite. Let's put that in my private chat so I can and put it at the top of the chat so he could see it and he can come get on in here. All right. There we go. Let's see. Copy the link. All right. So we should get him on in here and say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Sharon Jones is here. Sharon Jones is here. Good morning, Sharon. How are you doing? Listen, we're going to get everybody up and running. And let's see. I sent we're going to be putting up a graphic this morning. Ruby, I hope that you got that graphic okay and we can use that all right. But anyway, listen, folks, we got some folks in here. I need you to get ready. I need you to buckle your seatbelt because there's some high energy stuff getting ready to happen. All right. In the I sent it last night. So, all right. And let's take a look there and, where I send all my stuff. So, all right, folks, we're getting folks in here. And let's see here. Let's see here. We're going to be talking about the origin of the P.I.L.L method. We're going to be talking about how it works, how it came into being, and the 4 basic pillars of understanding debt today. Okay. All right. And let's see. Okay. All right. Sending some messages here. All righty. There we go. All right. Look. Sharon says, we're going to be bringing the hot tea this morning. We're going to be bringing it in this morning. All right, look, folks, let's go ahead and get ready for what's going to get ready to happen today. All right. If you have any questions or comments, by the way, folks, info@thepillmethod.com. Info@thepillmethod.com is where you want to send your show ideas. Info@thepillmethod.com. Okay. Send your show ideas. Some of you have some really good ideas about what you would like to see on the show. So go ahead and get that ready for me. Send your show ideas, and we will get you up and running. Dwayne Ross is giving me some fire emojis in the chat. Okay, hold on. All right, there we go. Excellent. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're waiting for Mr. Sean 10K, the founder of is the founder of 10K Cards. When he shows up, he's got a special presentation for you. But we're going to go ahead and take any questions that you may have right now, because I don't want to break up the presentation. Once we get the presentation started, we're going to go right on through. All right. So let's go ahead and ask any questions that you want. Go ahead and put it in the chat. And I've got some hellos from different parts of the country. Tell us what part of the country you're from, Dwayne. And Sharon, go ahead and tell us good morning from where. Stacy Johnson, good morning from where? Where you? Oh, Colette Bryant is in here. Good morning. Good morning. Carolyn Dorset, tell us all where you're from, and we'll shout it out this morning before we get started. All right. I'm right here in Huntsville, Alabama, and looking forward to speaking with you today. All right. So let's go ahead and, all right, let me see here. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right. So, all right, there we go. Excellent. Excellent. All right. There he is. There he is. Man, they've been hearing me talk about ice10k.com. Oh, and you definitely want to turn down your other device in the background. ice10k.com. Because I'm hearing an echo.
Want to turn down your
Let me see.
So are you on two devices?
Turn off the other ones. Okay, very good.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever you got.
Okay, we're on.
There you go. So you see ice10k.com. There's a reason for that, ladies and gentlemen. All right. It's not just so that you can get a hold of us and do whatever we need to do. This is the founder and developer of the 10K card. And I use the video card, which is awesome, by the way. Sean 10K, tell the folks what you're talking about. And so, Ruby, when he starts talking about 7 days giveaway, that's when we're going to put up that graphic. Okay. Sean, tell us about who you are and what you do, man. And tell us about this fantastic program you got coming up.
All right. So first of all, guys, Don, thank you so much for having me here this morning. Before I even get into myself, I want to take this moment to basically spotlight Don Daniel and the P.I.L.L method. I've met Don approximately 3 years ago. And when you speak of someone taking action now, if you look into the dictionary, you're going to see Don Daniel's face. We met. We put together a sample card for him, send it over to him, and literally in less than 5 minutes, Don Daniel was asking, how do I pay? When I see a client like that, I understand that he's wired for success. Looking 3 years later to where he is right now, I'm so proud of him. Honored to call him a friend. I'm looking forward to doing great things. So when we made a decision that we're going to be doing is 7 days of giving away, that's giving value to our audience. One of the first person that popped into my mind was Don Daniels. Hop on the phone call with him yesterday, and just like this, we set up the meeting for today. So I'm here to support Don in everything that he's doing. Obviously, I've known him for over 3 years. My family met his family. We slept at his place before. We travel around the country together already. So it's fair to say I know the fella, and he's a pretty cool dude. So I'm here today, guys, to add value. I'm here to add to give of myself to the platform, to the recording, and also to promote something very special we have going on, which is 7 days of giveaway. You see, at some point, you're going to be stuck in life. Some point, you'll know someone that was stuck in life. And they may just need to hear something. They may just need to be a part of a conversation that's going to help them to be unstuck. And that's what I'll be doing for the next 6 days. We started yesterday. We're going all the way until January 31st. So I'm so happy and grateful that Don Daniel is my official first presentation having a fireside chat. So Captain Don, let's rock and roll.
Listen, thank you very much, Sean. We appreciate you, and you can in the private chat send over any links that you want the people to see. But thank you very much for getting us started this morning. So, folks, right now we're going to jump right into it. How is it that we are in a situation where all of us have to use credit cards? We use credit cards. We use auto loans. We use mortgages. All right. We use all kinds of amortized loans. And we've never, ever had a class on it anywhere. Never had a class on it anywhere. Well, we're going to break that. We're going to break that curse right now today. We're going to go over every single letter in the P.I.L.L method: prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amounts, leverage, and liquidity. So we're going to start with, I'm going to share my screen here so that we can talk about what it is that we're doing. All right. So we're going to put that up. There we go. That's the screen. Eventually, when I get the, let me cue this up. There we go. We're just shifting some things around, ladies and gentlemen, because I need you to see what we're talking about. There we go. And boom, there it is. How to pay off mortgages and other debts in about 7 years. Understanding the P.I.L.L method from beginning to end. All right. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the information starts here, right here with this book, The P.I.L.L Method, A Better Way to Eliminate Debt. And in my digital business card, ice10k.com, you can get a link to that book. So let's get started in understanding the P.I.L.L method from beginning to end. 90% of the people you know with a mortgage will never own their home free and clear. Never. Listen, how is it? Can I ask you a question? When I say that 9 out of 10 people that you know will never pay off a mortgage, I want you to actually think about that. I want you to think about that. How many people do you know that have ever had a mortgage and paid it off? If you count them up, it'll be less than 10% of the people you know. If there was a school system that failed to graduate 90% of the students, would you send your child to that school? Of course you wouldn't. Then why are we entrenched in a financial system where 90% of us are set up to fail? And it's only because we lack the education, and we lack the education because it is non-existent in our schools, in our colleges, in our in grad schools, in business schools. Listen, if you are a CPA, if you are a financial planner, a real estate agent, a mortgage professional, we've never been taught how how an amortization schedule actually works. How does the bank make their money through interest, and what we can do about it? I'm telling you today, you are not at the mercy of the banks. You're not. You can control how much interest you actually pay. All right. Now, watch this. Here we go. Here's what should be happening. 30-year loans should pay off on an average of 7 to 9 years. Some people take a little bit longer to pay it off because it all depends on how much money you're making and how much money you're spending. All right. But some people actually can pay off faster than 7 years. So I'm giving you the average. 30-year loans should pay off. But, that's not the whole story. That's not the whole story. Did you realize that I'm not just talking about your 30-year mortgage? I'm talking about your mortgage and your credit cards and your car loans and your student loans. Anything that carries interest, all of your debt can be paid off in an average of 7 to 9 years. And some programs, what they'll do is they'll separate. They'll say, we'll help you to pay off your debt and then your mortgage. Listen, folks, it's all debt. So why are we separating it? Let's find out why it takes so long to pay off all of your debt. And some people never get it done. We're going to find out why and what you could do for it. Okay. So listen, the only way that this can happen is through optimization. Okay. Only way it can happen is through optimization. One, optimization means we want to make sure that whatever you do financially, you get the biggest bang for your buck. All right. What do you mean? I mean that whatever you purchase, you want to purchase more for less. Everything we do is about leveraging. Everything that we do, it's about getting more. Everything that we do is about how can I get the most for the least? When we buy gas, how can I get the most gas I can for the least? When I buy groceries, how can I get more groceries for less money? Whatever I do, how can I make my dollar stretch further? The only place we've never really been taught how to make our dollar stretch is when we borrow money. Why? Because those who lend money are actually in charge of our financial education. Yeah. It's set up so that, can I give you a little secret? If you are stuck financially, if it seems like you're on a treadmill going nowhere, I don't care how much money you make. You could make good money. You're paying all your bills on time every month. You are you go on vacation maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, you're doing well financially. But that mortgage, those student loans seem to hang around forever. There's a reason for that. I want you to know today, it's not your fault. It's not. It's not that you weren't paying attention in class. It's not that you're not following the advice from the financial gurus and anything that you can find online on YouTube. Following all of that advice is actually the reason why we are stuck in long-term loans, because we're following that advice. You're doing what you've been taught. That's why you are. Most people, listen, there are people that think that most people are where they are financially because they're irresponsible. I disagree. I've been talking to people about this for years. For years, we've been talking to people about it. And it's not because they're irresponsible. It's because they've followed that advice. Now they find out the advice was bad. You're going to understand this, you're going to have to forget everything you've ever thought you knew about lending. Everything you thought you knew about money. Everything you thought you knew about borrowing and credit cards and car loans and mortgages, to learn something new. Are you ready? If you're ready to learn something new, let's put it in the chat. Put a number 7 in the chat if you want to learn, if you want to learn something new. All right. If you want to learn something new, put a number 7 in the chat. I want to see it. I want to see it today. All right. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Dwayne Ross says he's ready. Dwayne, you're ready? Floyd Brown, are you ready? Sharon M. Jones, are you ready? All right. Dwayne Ross says, I have a credit card at Navy Federal, and I keep paying it. I pay it. It keeps going up because they raise the interest. You know, raising the interest rate. If you don't know how to read an amortization schedule, did you know that it's actually easier to pay off a loan at a higher interest rate than at a lower one? Oh, yeah, we're going to learn how to read an amortization schedule today. Today is your day. I need you to start inviting people to this show right now, to the live show. I know they can see, listen, I know they can see the replay, but invite them to the live show. Folks, the only way you can get this done is through optimization. You're going to have to optimize the use of your money. You're going to have to know how much money to move. You're going to have to know when to move the money. You're going to need to know how to pay the money. You're going to need to know what month to do it in, what day of the month to do it on, which loan to attack. You're going to need to know all of that in order to pay off your loan with the least amount of interest paid. Here's what you have to stop doing. Stop focusing on interest rate. Stop focusing on your payment, and stop focusing on how much you owe. All of the plans that you've ever received about paying off the debt, saying, here's how you pay off what you owe. Here's the fastest way to pay off what you owe, throwing money at the debt. Let me tell you something. Anybody who says the way to pay off the debt is get an extra job, okay, don't go anywhere, don't ever do anything, all right, don't do anything fun, all right, eat beans and rice every day, all right, restrict your diet, and cut up your credit cards, all right, and then take all of that money and keep throwing it at the debt until it's paid off. No, that is not the way we want to live. How about paying off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years? How about that? Live well while you're doing it, and at the same time, build up a reserve fund. Build up a reserve fund, have fun, listen, live a great lifestyle, and pay off all of your debt in 7 to 9 years. It is possible. People have been doing it for years following the P.I.L.L method. All right. But the only way you could do that is through optimization. All right. Here we go. Our goal, ladies and gentlemen, here's our goal. Own your home free and clear. Own your home free and clear, if that's what you want. Okay. Own your home free and clear, and continue to invest in your future. Some people believe this, that you can't invest because you're paying off your home. Why pay off a 3 or 4 or 5% mortgage when you can take your money and invest it and make 7, 8, 9, 10% on your money, 12% on your money, 14% on your money? Why pay off a 4, 5, or 6 or 7% loan? Because you don't have to choose. You can do both. You can invest and save money. You can make money through interest and save money that you don't have to pay. People who say that don't really understand what's going on with the interest. Let me give you some insights into what's going on with interest rates. Interest rates have always been a liar. Look at this, okay? I want to show you how interest rates have been a liar. Because of this, in Alabama, we have a person who had $500,000, okay, and 29 years left to pay because of their interest rate. But when we told them about interest cost, they now paid off that loan in 11 years and saved $220,000 in interest they did not have to pay. In Tennessee, a mortgage debt of $216,000, brand new mortgage for 30 years and they're now paying that loan off in 5.4 years, saving $170,000 in interest. You see, the amount of interest that you don't pay the bank determines when you can get out of debt. Oh, yeah. So if all of your debt was 0% interest, listen to me now. If all of your debt was 0% interest, is there any benefit to you financially to pay the loan off early if all of your loans were 0% interest? No, there isn't. No. So what do we have to do then? We have to focus on the real problem. The real problem is not what you owe. The real problem is how much are you paying to manage what you owe? And is there something you can do about it? You better believe there's something you can do about it. You better believe you can cut your interest cost by 75% using technology and knowledge. And at the P.I.L.L method, we have both. Okay. Georgia. What's going on in Georgia? $270,000 mortgage. They're into the mortgage for 4 years before they found us. And now they're going to be able to pay that loan off in 8.3 years. Why? Because they're going to save $135,000. And how are they doing that? Focus here. They're going to do it without refinancing. Refinancing is not necessary to get this done. Without change to their budget. I'm going to use your current budget to show you how you can do this. You don't need to make more money. Get that out of your head. You don't need to make more money. You just need to pay less interest. How can you learn how to give the bank back money and make it impossible? I'm going to repeat that word. Make it impossible for them to charge you interest. And you could do it without sacrificing lifestyle. Listen, the last thing you want to do if you have young children and you want to manage your debt, the last thing you want to do is keep telling them, I can't afford it. Dad, I want to go on I want to do ballet. Can't afford it. We got to get out of debt. I want to go on the travel team. I want to play baseball. Nope, can't afford the travel team. We have to get out of debt. By the time you're out of debt, your kids are 15, 16, 17, getting ready to go into college, and all their relationship with money is a bad one because they're going to be going around thinking there's not enough money. There's not enough money. I couldn't do the things that the other kids were doing because there's not enough money. Don't do that. There is enough. The problem is too much of it is going to interest. If we can cut back on the interest, there's enough money to do the things that you want to do without sacrificing lifestyle. You know who needs to sacrifice? I'll tell you who needs to sacrifice. The bank needs to sacrifice. The bank needs to sacrifice because they don't need all that interest money. You need to invest your money that the bank wants for interest. You need to invest it. Cut your interest cost by 75%, pay off your loans in 7 to 9 years, and take that money that you would have paid in interest and invest it in your family. Not only can you have more fun, but we can show you how you can make, with that money you're not giving to the bank, regular families that work W-2 jobs can have over $1 million set aside for their retirement and building generational wealth because of all the interest they did not pay. Okay, watch this. I need to tell you one thing. You're going to learn some stuff today. You're going to learn some stuff today. And here's what you don't want to do. Don't take what you've learned here, all this new information, and take it back to old haunts. Take it back to people who are raised who are taught a traditional way about finances. Don't take this information to your accountant because your accountant does not know how an amortization schedule works. Not because your accountant wasn't paying attention in class. This class was not offered. Okay. Financial planner, same thing. And don't call your bank and ask for an amortization schedule. Don't call your bank and say, if I put an extra $500 here, will I actually save this much money? Because they don't know. The bank owners know. The people who own the bank know, but they don't tell their employees. They don't teach it to their employees. Why? Because if they taught it to their employees, they would teach it to you. You also will not hear this financial information that we're going to share today from financial gurus like Dave Ramsey. Not going to hear it. Okay? Not going to hear it. Pretty soon we're going to be doing a show on the debt snowball. We're going to be doing a show on the debt snowball. And that's Dave Ramsey's baby. Susie Orman, nope. You will not hear what we're talking about today from Susie Orman because they were raised in a traditional way of thinking about money. This is a new way. It is a better way to thinking about your money because we're going to understand what the banks are doing. And once you understand their system, you can do something about it. And I'm going to show you the reason why you don't know, because the basic plan is so simple and so easy, it is mind-boggling. That's why you don't know about it. The way they make money, hand over fist, is they chose a system that makes a ton of money. But the thing about the system that they chose, if you knew how it worked, you could save a lot of money. That's why the information is not out there for you. Susie Orman can't teach you. Gene Chatsky can't teach you. G. Edward Reed can't teach you. That information is not out there, what we're going to be talking about today. These are all people who teach finances, okay? And why? The ability to read an amortization schedule. And listen, I even asked ChatGPT a bunch of questions about this. And did you know that the chat said that the math exists to learn how to optimize interest savings? The math is out there, but there's no class that takes all of these pieces and puts it together in one place to teach you how it works and how you can defeat the system, except here. It doesn't exist anywhere else. It is not taught at any level of financial education. So here's what you need to know. The P.I.L.L method stands for Prepayment of Principal. We're going to understand that you can pay extra on a loan anytime you want. You can. Even if it has a prepayment penalty, you can do it. And we're going to talk about that as well. But what you don't know is what happens when you do. All of you have paid. See, people say, Don, I talked to a friend about the P.I.L.L method, and they said, all you have to do is this. All you have to do is pay extra on your loan. All you have to do is put money on principal and you save interest. Do you know that's true? But you know what you're not hearing? When I put $5 on my loan, how much interest did I just save? That's the part you're not hearing. When I put money on my loan, how much interest am I saving? And is there a certain amount that I can put on my loan on a certain day in a certain month so that I can eliminate the most interest that's mathematically possible, all right, with the money I'm applying? How much can I save per dollar? Okay, if I could save $6 in interest for every dollar I put on, and listen, a 6-to-1 return, fantastic, 600% return. Love it. Okay. But what if you didn't know that if you could take the same money or even more money and put it and pay it at a different time, now you're saving not $6 for every dollar, $5.50. for every dollar or $5 for every dollar? How do you know how much interest you're saving or paying if you're not measuring how much interest you're paying now and measuring how much interest you're actually saving? We're taught not to measure. How many of you have ever paid extra on your credit card, extra on your car loan, extra on your mortgage or student loan? Most of you, if not all of you, have done that. Have you ever received a receipt from your banking institution that said, thank you very much for your extra payment. Here's how much interest you saved? Lord have mercy. Do you know some people are staring at their screens right now and saying, you know what? For years, I've been giving extra money and I don't even know what I got for the money. You would never go to Walmart. You would never go to Target. You would never go to the mall and pay your money at the mall and not know what you received for that money. You just never would do it. But why do we do it when it comes to our loans? Because we're taught to do it. Give money and not know what you received. Because if you found out what you received, you would be amazed. And that's what we're going to get to today. Prepayment of principal means this. Isolating the principal amount means how much should we pay and when should we pay it? How much should we pay and when should, out of your discretionary income, how much of that money should go to prepaying your loan? All right. So when you isolate the principal amount, how much money are we going to pay on principal? That's what we're going to do. We're going to be able to isolate that and know exactly to the penny when to pay it. Here is leverage. Leverage is a little bit different from isolation. Leverage means this. What is the least amount of effort I can put into something and get the greatest benefit? What is the least amount of effort and make the most? Okay, so everything is about leveraging. When you invest money, what is the least amount of money I can invest to make the most amount of money on my money? Okay, is it a 5% return on my money, or do I want a 10% return or a 20% return? Listen, how much money you use is the leverage. And then you want to find out what is the least amount I can use so I can make the most money. That's leveraging your money. When you borrow money from the bank, how much am I borrowing? What am I going to pay? And then if you are in business, you need to start doing this. How much interest did I pay to earn the money I used to invest in my business? I'm not seeing anybody, real estate investors or any other business, that takes into account their interest consumption. I call it interest consumption in my book. How much interest are you consuming each and every month? We don't know. So leverage means I'm going to find out what is the least amount of money I can put on my debt, not the most. The least amount of money I can put on my debt to save the most in interest. Everybody else is teaching the opposite. Take as much money as you can and throw it at the debt. Nope. Doesn't work. Okay? Because there's a point at which more is too much in everything. All right? I happen to know that too much jerk seasoning on the chicken ruins the chicken. All right? That's what I'm talking. There's a point at which more is too much. Liquidity. That's the last L. Liquidity means let's take a look at all of your money, all of your finances, all of your resources, and find out how much it costs to use those resources, and think about your resources differently. How much does it cost to use your resources, and then figure out how to best use them? For instance, do you know how many people I know that have 5, 10, 15, 30, 50, $100,000 in the bank because they like seeing it, because they've been told that cash is king and they should save their money? They're doing it. but when it comes to using their credit card, some of them are carrying a balance. The most expensive money that you have is not on your credit cards. The most expensive money that you have is your money sitting in the bank. Why? Because it's making about 0.1%. That's not even keeping up with inflation. Okay. Every month you keep your money in the bank not working, it is worth less. It's worth less money every single month it's in there because inflation is rising higher than the amount of interest that you're making. So here's your saying: keeping your money in the bank, and every month it becomes worth less until it's worthless. Every month you keep your money in the bank, it's worth less until it's worthless. Take that money and invest it. Your money should be making babies. I don't care how you do it. Make your money make babies. That's what we need to talk about. Watch this. Right here. This is what you're seeing on the screen, okay? What you're seeing on the screen is this. This is the formula. This is the formula that amortizes your loan. This is the formula that makes it so expensive and keeps you in debt forever. The reason why you're in debt forever is this: how much interest you're paying. And we're going to break the payments down so that you can know. If the bank has an algorithm, if they have an algorithm that's charging you all this money, where is your algorithm to cut costs? Listen, we're going to learn how to fight fire with fire. If they have an algorithm, you get an algorithm. Okay? Listen, you got a computer, I'm going to get a computer. You have math, I'm going to use math. And we're going to beat you at your own game because now we're going to study what you're doing. Did you know there are companies right now? We're getting ready to go into we're getting ready for the Super Bowl, are we not? We're getting ready for the Super Bowl? Do you know there are companies right now that are using data analytics to make choices on what plays to run? It is data analytics. Listen, do you remember 3 and out playing football? 3 and out means 3 downs. Listen, if I don't get a first down, I'm going to punt the ball. Did you know that data analytics say that more people who try to get a first down using all 4 downs, statistically, you're going to do better than punting the ball after 3 downs, statistically. When you look at the statistics, it's better to run a 2-point conversion than kicking for 1 point. This is why you're seeing more of it, because of data analytics. And stop using your gut and stop using feelings and start using numbers. And this is why we're going to be able to do it. We're going to use data analytics to make better decisions about our money. Here's what bank owners don't want you to know. We're going to get into it. What do bank owners, what don't they want you to know? Here's what they don't want you to know. Amortized interest is deceptive. It makes you think one thing when another thing is actually happening in the background. This is why we call it financial violence. This is why we call it financial violence. Okay? All right. The definition: how lending is practiced today. All of the best information out there, all of the best, is financial violence, because you're not being taught what you need to know to conserve your money. We're going to teach it today. All right. Let me stop here for just a second. I want to take a look at some of these comments. All right. Strategic Secrets just says, listen, just pill it. He says, pill it. He was not just spill it. He says, pill it. Colette Bryant says, how much is the book? It's Is it on your site? Yes, it is on. Listen, let me tell you something. When you get that book, all right, it is not a how-to. It's telling you what you need to know and understand what the bank has been doing to you. All right. Our book is the only book on Amazon, because since you asked me about it, it's the only book on Amazon that teaches anything about how to read an amortization schedule. And as far as I know about books on finances, the P.I.L.L Method book is the most expensive book on Amazon on finances. Boom, bar none. Now, Don, if you tell people that, are you going to sell fewer books? Absolutely not, because we're giving information you can only get from my book. And it's going to save you way more money than you're going to spend on it. Lord have mercy. Come on, everybody. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so how much is the book? That's how much it is, $50. All right, but it's going to be the best $50 you ever spent. All right, well, listen, Colette Bryan is saying here, when I paid extra on my mortgage, they would hold it until the next payment was due as confirmation that it would be paid on time. So Colette, you may be talking about a biweekly payment. People who are making biweekly payments, this is what happens. When you make your payment on the first, half the payment on the first, they hold your money. They hold it until you make the second payment around the 15th. And then they apply it. Money to principal, money to interest. That's how it's done. So for 10 months out of the year, a biweekly payment saves you nothing, because that's what's going on. Biweekly payments save you nothing 10 months out of the year. So how does it end up saving you money? Because 2 months out of the year, okay, there's an extra week. And you're going to make 3 payments that month. A half payment on the first, another half on around the 15th, and then you're going to pay again around the 30th. Okay, that third payment is the one that saves you money. And 6 months later, you're going to make a third payment, all right, half payment, and then that one saves you money. So what ends up happening is instead of 12 payments a year, you make 13 payments a year. That's what the biweekly payment system is all about. People who come over to us, they get rid of the biweekly payment. Okay. Whoo, Sean. Oh, listen. Sean Lashley says $50 for the book is a steal of a deal. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right. So that's what's going on there. So what are we saying? Okay. All right. So let's get back into it. Right? Get back into it. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. So Don, when they tell me 3%, I'm not paying 3%. No, you're not. The interest rate you are quoted is not the interest rate you pay. Are you all ready to learn about this? Are you all ready? Are you all ready to this? I'm going to put on a mortgage here of $500,000. The payment is $2,108.02, and the interest rate is 3%. Do you know how many people are wishing they could get a 3% mortgage right now? They're wishing to get a 3% mortgage. Okay. But right now, at 3%, the amount of interest that you'll pay on this for 30 years is $258,887. Does that look like 3% to you? Is $258,887 3% of $500,000? Absolutely not. And you don't need to be a math genius to figure out that 250 is half of 500. 250 is half of 500. So this has got to be a little more than half. So when you do the math, here's how it comes out. When you pay this loan back, you're paying $758,000 for your $500,000 home. Did you realize there's a term for that? The term is called true cost. What's the true cost of my home? When I add up how much I paid for the home and I add up how much interest I paid on the money I borrowed for my home, if you keep that loan for 30 years, you're going to pay $758,887.20 for your $500,000 home. Don't you do it. You can pay a lot less interest. Why? Because the total interest paid on this loan is 51.777%. This is why we say the amount of interest you paid, the interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. You're quoted 3%, but you're going to pay back 51% all day, every day, unless you do something about it. Okay. But it doesn't stop there. That's a 3% loan. At 4%, you're going to pay back $359,348. That's 71.87% of what you borrowed. So your 4% loan is a 71% loan. Your 5% loan, you're going to pay back $466,000 on a 5. That's almost as much as you borrowed. That's why it's a 93% loan. Your 5% mortgage is a 93% mortgage. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. That's the problem. It is not the money that you borrowed. It is the cost of the money that you borrowed is the problem. Okay, Colette Bryant, what do you have for me here? What do you have for me? It says, oh, okay. What about the fact that when I paid extra on the mortgage, it didn't lower my principal immediately? I was told it would show up at the end of the mortgage, discouraging. Okay, Colette, can I tell you what happened there? You called your bank. You called your bank and wanted them to explain to you banking. That was the problem. You called the bank and had them explain banking to you. They don't understand banking. What they do is they sell products. They know how to sell products. They're salespeople. The people that are in the nice dresses and the suits and the ties that they call bankers, they're salespeople. That's all. That's what they do. They sell products. So let me tell you what happened, what they should have told you. Okay. Here's how you can figure this out. Any money that you look at how much you owe now on your mortgage. Okay. Look at how much you owe now on your mortgage. And they gave you an amortization schedule. And when you have that amortization schedule, you know that as you're making your payment, this is how much you owe. If you put an extra $500 on your mortgage, you'll see the next month that you're $500 ahead of where you would have been. So you've just reduced your balance by a $500. It has to work that way because it's just math. Okay. They're telling you how much. Listen, I'm going to show you what's going on. I'm going to show you what's going on, Colette, because we're going to learn how to read an amortization schedule. All right. And if I forget to address that, I need you to be the first one to jump right in. And Colette, you can come to the stage. There's a link at the top. I would love to have you. You don't have to be on camera, but I would love to talk to you about this so that I can help you to get a better understanding. So come to the stage and we'll talk about it. All right. Just click the link and then follow the directions. And then you can talk to us about what's going on. Okay. All right. Become part of the studio audience. You'll love it. All right. Great experience. All right. 6% means this. 6% means this. This is crazy. $579,000 paid back on a $500,000 loan. 579,000, that's more than you borrowed. So that really means 115.838%. Did you know there's legislation right now that's trying to legislate payday loans in your communities? Payday loans have nothing on a regular mortgage that everybody else uses. 115.838%. And now loans are over 7%. Over 7% on a $500,000 loan, $697,000, and it's all legal to do, which means your 7% loan really means 139.5%. That's 140% all day. Mercy, 140% all day. And it's legal. It may not be moral, but it's legal. And the reason why you're not learning about this anywhere else on the internet, okay? Can I tell you? Oh, let me stop right here and tell you this. The reason why you're not hearing about this is because once you learn how to read it, you can't go back to not knowing it. It is the not knowing that makes them so much money. It cannot be taught in schools, because if it were taught in schools, they wouldn't be making the kind of money that they're making. So how is it that this information is being kept out of schools? How is it that no other program on the internet or on YouTube, there are millions of videos on YouTube, not one is talking about what we're talking about today and teaching you how to read an amortization schedule? Not one. So here's what I need you to do from now on. When getting financial advice, whoever's giving the financial advice, make them show you the numbers to prove what they're saying. Because today, I'm going to show you the numbers. And do you know why? Because people lie, but numbers don't lie. And some of us lie. We're not lying intentionally. We're lying because we're repeating a lie. And I don't hold people responsible for repeating a lie that they've been told, because to them, it's truth to them, because that's what they've been taught. So they're not lying intentionally. They're lying because they've been taught to lie. But the lie is a lie all the same. Okay, here we go. Here is a $300,000 mortgage at 4.25%. Okay, and here's the payment of $1,000. Here's how the breakdown. Okay, we're going to learn how to break it down, and then we're going to learn how to read it. $413.32. That's how much goes to principal out of this loan. You pay $1,062, and only $413 pays down your loan. Well, what happens to the rest of the money? Yeah, you know, it goes to interest. In the first year, this is how much interest is paid on this loan: $12,652.24. All the money you paid, $12,600 of it goes to interest on this loan. Total interest paid in the first 10 years on this loan, $115,000. Do you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going here? You make plenty of money. It's just going to the wrong place. It's going to the banks so they can get richer. You don't need to pay it like that. The average on the average, that's an average of $962 a month interest for 10 years. Crazy money. $962 average for 10 years going just to interest, giving it away. You might as well throw it in the furnace and burn it up for all the good it's doing you. Okay? 10 years total principal paid, $61,000. So in 10 years, you pay the bank $115,000 on this loan for the privilege of paying down your loan by $61,000. When you add it up, that's a total of $177,000. This is why they make so much money. This is why you don't know how to read an amortization schedule. This is why you haven't been taught how a loan actually works. And the people that you're working with at the bank, they don't know either. Stop calling the bank and asking for financial information. That's not why they're there. They are there to make money. They're the biggest borrowers in town. They borrow our money. And then when they borrow our money, they know how to make money with our money. And then they pay us pennies on the dollar for the use of our money. That's what's going on. But I'm telling you today, you can turn it around and take a page out of their book. How to borrow money from the bank, how to make big benefits with that money, and how to pay the bank pennies on the dollar for the use of that money. How would you like to know that today? If you'd like to know that today, put a number 9 in the chat. Put a number 9 in the chat. And so while you're putting a number 9 in the chat, folks, I have to get a drink of water. So since I have to get a drink of water, we're going to have Sean 10K come back here and talk about his new project that he's got coming up. And that's going to be our commercial break. And so I'm going to get a drink of water while that's happening. Sean, listen, Sean, are you in the building? Sean, are you in the building?
Sean is in the building, Don. Hey, guys, we've watched this commercial. We've watched Don's presentation hundreds of times over. And every time you watch it, something else is going to pop out to you. So always pay attention. Always take notes. As you guys see me on the screen, I'm taking as much notes as I possibly can. So feel free to take notes. But just to give a quick point, guys, as I said, today is my birthday. And every year, I've always used my birthday to give and add value to others. So when I called Don and told him what I was doing, we wanted to do 7 days of giving away value to our audience, to all our communities. And when I called Don and I said, Don, I want you to be a part of this, he said, absolutely, yes, what do you need me to do? And it just so happened that God aligned it. So Don basically got my first presentation, my first interview. So I'm happy and grateful to be here to share with you guys. When you go to ceoshawn.com/7 days, you're going to get all the information that you need. And what I'll be doing is reaching out to all of my friends with all their businesses, all their influence, to bringing it to all our combined platforms to share the information. You see, I don't know about you guys, but at points of my life, I found myself in a stuck area. And I knew if I had the right information, I would have been able to get unstuck. But I just had to keep digging and digging and digging. But I made a promise to myself that once I figured out the formula, I'm going to find a way to help other people. And that's what I connect my entire life to doing. So when I come across individuals like Don and what he's doing, I genuinely know he's coming from a place of adding value. I'm so happy and grateful to team up with him and work any collaboration that he calls me for. Now, I heard members were asking about the affiliate program. I spoke with Don last night, and we made a bunch of upgrades over the last couple of months. So in the next coming week, guys, the affiliate program is going to be so amazing, you wouldn't be able to help yourself but to tell everyone about it. So when you go to is10klive.com, just look for become an affiliate, and all the updates will be coming over the next coming days. But I'm laser focused for the next 6 days of promoting, helping as much people as we can, because the goal is to help individual break away from the rut that they're in. So when you listen to Don, you follow Don's program, he's trying to show you how to A, get rid of all that extra interest. B, you don't need to cut up your credit card and eat ramen noodles and rice, like some bad advice that's given out there. What you need to do is to take the right information, apply the right information, and live the life that you were destined to live. You know, guys, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but we were actually born as a part of the Kingdom Trust. We were born as the part of the Kingdom Trust. And nowhere in the trust agreement, I saw you have to eat ramen noodles and cut your credit card. I just didn't see that. Forgive me if I'm wrong. If you know the scripture, send it to me so I can be educated on it. I told we were brought here to live in abundance. Basically, here's the problem. We find ourselves in situations where we exit from the abundance lifestyle. And as Don rightly said, it's no fault of yours. There's a lot of good advice on the internet, and there's 7 pieces of bad advice on the internet. Unfortunately, those 7 pieces of bad advice, it goes viral from time to time. It goes viral from time to time. So you have to be careful about it, guys. Whenever you see those 7 pieces of bad advice show up, say, oh, that's one of those dramatical viral videos. Avoid it at all costs. Go invest in the proper information, guys. And most importantly, ask yourself this question. Is what I'm doing taking me closer to the trust, or is it taking me further away? And if you know you're overpaying in interest, guys, that's taking you further away from your trust. So start feeding on all the information that's going to remove you from the opposite end of the trust and get back into the trust, which is the unlimited lifestyle. All right? So take the information, share the information, and most importantly, take action on the information. Go to is10k.com, guys. Everything is going to be there. And Don thinks his card is up and up right now. Watch his card over the next 7 days, guys. We were in the lab working. We were putting stuff together, and we have a pleasant surprise coming for him. So for anyone who's interested in the 7 days of giving away, go to ceoshawn.com/7 day, because the goal of this is to help individual find a way out of where they are to a much better, abundant lifestyle. That's my life's commitment. Individuals like Don is on board, and we're not stopping until we fall off. Back to you, Don.
Thank you, sir. Listen, folks, what we're going to do is I'm going to be part of this thing. We're going to be giving away information. There are going to be business owners from across the U.S. giving away information during this program. So CEO Sean / what was that? How does that, what does that go?
7 days.
7 days.
CEOSean.com / 7 days.
7 days. And we're going to put the link in if you want to know more about that. All right. And you want to know the speaking schedule and when I come up and all of that. But we're going to be giving stuff away during that time. Thank you very much, Sean. So here's what we're going to do, folks. Let's put that link in the chat. And so that everybody can see it. So we're going to get back to this. I've had my drink of water. I'm energized. I'm ready to go. And some people put some 9s in the comment section because they want to know how to read an amortization schedule. And we are going to do that right now. Okay. How do we read it? How do we read it? We read it like this. Here we go. The first thing we need to understand, and this is a powerful part, prepayment of principal. And I'm going to show you something that's, if you have a mortgage, somewhere in your mortgage, this is written. If you're in the United States, somewhere in your mortgage, this is written. So don't call me, don't email me and ask me, is that something we can do? Because I'm going to show you something that is your right to do, and it's in writing. It's your right to do, and it's in writing in your own mortgage papers. And here it is. The borrower's right to prepay. It doesn't say the borrower has to ask permission to prepay. It doesn't say the borrower has to beg the bank. No, it says this is your right. This is your right. So understand it, because everything we're going to be doing is based on this right here. The secret sauce, okay? What you need to know is right here. It's just that the bank has to tell you what it is. They're not required to explain what it is. That's what's going on here. Right now, you have the right. Let's read it. You have the right to make payments of principal at any time before they are due. A payment of principal only is known as a prepayment. When I make a prepayment, I will tell the note holder in writing that I am doing so. What? At any time before the payment is due. So before your next payment is due, you can give the bank money. All right, that's what that means. It's a prepayment. Pre means before. So after you make a regular payment, then you can make a prepayment before the next payment is due. And this is a very powerful concept. This is very powerful to understand. Okay. When I make a prepayment, I will tell the note holder or I can inform the note holder in writing that I'm doing so. Here's what that really means today. When you go on your website for your bank, there may be a line there that says you can make a principal only payment. That is informing them. That's telling them. That's putting it in writing. You don't have to send them a note. Okay. When you're putting money on principal, there are electronic ways to let them know. You could put it on the check. And there's a lot of things that you could do. But here's what you really need to do. Call your bank and tell them you want to make a prepayment. What are the rules at your bank to make a prepayment? And they will tell you. They know that much. But don't ask them what happens when you do. Okay? Now they're going to get lost. Don't call them and ask them for an amortization schedule. You can make one on your own and I'll show you. Okay? So here's what's going on. Okay? When I make a prepayment, you got to tell the note holder that you're doing so. You can make a full prepayment. You can make a full prepayment or a partial payments without paying any prepayment charge. A full prepayment means you can pay off the entire loan right now. Or partial prepayments means that you can pay it off in larger increments. All right? You can put money on the loan. All right. That's partial prepayment. Now, here's the best part in the third paragraph, and I need you we're going to break this thing down so that you can understand it. Remember the rules to the secret sauce. Okay. The cheat code is right here, and it's always been in your mortgage papers. Here it is. The note holder will use all of my prepayments to reduce the amount of principal that I owe under this note. Remember in the payments that I just showed you where some of the money went to principal and some of it and a bunch of it went to interest? Well, when you make a prepayment, look at this. The note holder will use all of my prepayments to reduce the amount of principal that I owe under this note. In other words, what they're telling you here is when you put money on principal, when you make that prepayment, all of that money goes to pay down the loan. And it makes it impossible for the bank to charge you interest because you chose a different time to give them money other than the prescribed time. When you pay on their schedule, you pay a lot of interest. You pay on your schedule, you pay no interest when you give them the money. It makes it impossible for them to charge you interest when you give them the money. Would you like to see that? Would you like for me to show you the very first part of the P.I.L.L method means prepayment of principal? Here it goes. Here's a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. Listen, get your notebooks out. And this is the part, listen, you can timestamp this and you can know when it comes up in the presentation so you can keep rewinding it. You need to learn how to read an amortization schedule. Here it is, $200,000 mortgage at 6% for 30 years. Monthly payment, $1,199.10. And out of that, and here's how it breaks down. $200,000 mortgage, payment $1,199.10 over 30 years at 6%. They want me to pay $231,676 in interest. Yeah, that's what they want. Did you realize that's just a suggestion? It's a suggestion. And the bank is really saying, I suggest that you pay us $231,000. They don't know that you're getting ready to learn that you can pay about 75% less. I'm going to give you a coupon that's 75% off on all of your loans. You're going to get it today. Are you ready? Okay. Here's what they want you to pay for your house, $431,676. That's what they want to pay for your house. A house for you and a house for the bank. Anybody really interested in signing up for that program where you buy a house for the bank while you're buying a house for yourself? Anybody interested in that? No, I don't think so. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 115.838%. Let's learn how to read this thing. And once you learn how to read it, I'm going to teach you the basics. Now, what I'm not teaching here is how to optimize interest savings. What I am teaching is how to get interest savings. You have to decide, do you want to save some interest or do you want to save the maximum amount of interest mathematically that I can save for me and my family using technology and using new financial knowledge? Here's what we're talking about. On that very first payment of $1,199.10, $199.10 pays down the loan. That goes to principal. That's the money that you borrowed. Principal, money that you borrowed. Look at the headings up top. You got principal, you got interest, you got cumulative principal, you got cumulative interest, you got principal balance. $199.10 goes to principal. $1,000 goes to interest, goes to the bank. And that's why at the end of the first month, you still owe the bank $199,800.90. Did you realize because of the formula that they use, this on line 1, it becomes your new mortgage. Yeah. $200,000 was your mortgage. You gave them $199.10, which changed everything. Now this is your new mortgage. The reason why it is so expensive to manage your debt is because it's not one mortgage. It's 360 separate mortgages if you let it stay this way. And nobody has ever told us that this is what's really going on. 360 separate mortgages, and each month they're going to charge you big time money to manage to manage this debt. So you owe $199,800.90. They do some math and they figure out how much interest you owe on the very next line. Since you owe less, now the interest that you pay is less, $999 in interest, and that dollar you didn't pay in interest now goes over to principal, $200.10. This is called the rate of change. The rate of change in the principal, when they use that formula, is so slow that a little bit more money goes to principal each month and a little less money goes to interest. But look at the interest payments. This is what you're doing on this loan for the privilege of paying back your loan at $200 a month. Lord have mercy. $200 a month out of my money is paying back this loan. And the investors are getting a huge amount of what I'm paying. Now, when you look at your amortization schedule, you get 3 columns. You get principal, you get interest, and you get principal balance. You don't get cumulative principal and cumulative interest. You get that from brettwhissell.net, BRETWHISSEL.net. This is the amortization calculator I use to produce this. You can produce your own. You don't have to call the bank. Brett Whistle, BRETWHISSEL, EL.net, and you can create one of these for yourself. Okay. So from the ground up, I paid for this. Would you like me to tell my experience? Oh my gosh. Okay. Come on in. Come on in. I would love if you tell your experience. Give them the link. Come on in. All right. All right. So come to the stage. So next month, $210 and $9.99. Okay. So we got $399 and 20 cents. It's added up for cumulative principal, but $1,999 already went to interest. Oh my goodness. So what happens here? So we're going to go to payment number 2. $200.10 goes to principal, $9.99 goes to interest, and we're paid down to line 2 in the second month. Let's just pretend we're starting out in January. This would be February. Now, what happens next? I need you to look at this. If you pay your mortgage in January, your next mortgage payment would be in February, and this is the principal payment. Here's my question. Pay your mortgage in January. Do you have to wait to give the bank this $200.10 that they're looking for in February? Because if you pay it in February, you have to give them more money. But when you're paying in January and you look here and you give them $200.10, do I have to wait to February to give them this money? No. If you had it, could you pay it in January? Yes, you could. And what would that be called? You got it. It's called a prepayment. So when you make that prepayment, you're paid down to line 2 in January, where you owe $199,600.80. Because why? We read it. All the money you prepay goes to principal. Boom, all of it. All right? Because they already got their interest money for January. They can't charge you anymore. It's against the rules. So what happens next? When you pay that $200 early, your next mortgage payment is on what line of the schedule? Because you're already on line 2. You got it. You're on line 3. You just got rid of line 2 on the amortization schedule for only $200.10, not the $1,200 that they're looking for. So what else happened? What happened to when you prepaid the $200.10? What happened to the $999 on line 2? What happened to that when you prepaid that $200.10? Boom, right there. You just canceled $999 in interest you never have to pay, and your next mortgage payment for February is now on line 3. What we're doing to the amortization schedule is we are condensing, we are squeezing, we are taking that amortization schedule and we're cutting out payments just like that. Taking $200 out of the bank and putting it on principal. That's what you're doing. All right. But this is why the bank doesn't want you to know what's going on here. Okay. This is why they don't want you to know. Okay. They want you to not know this part here. Watch this. Because once you understand this, you're going to come up with some ideas that's going to save you even more money. What if you did this? What if you did this? Made your mortgage payment and then gave them the next 3 principal payments in the same month. You pay your mortgage payment in January. All right. It's all done. And then you look at the amortization schedule and says, you know what? I got a few bucks in the bank. I'm going to give them the $200.10, the $201.10, and the $202.10. I'm going to give them all 3 at the same time. And because I did that, my paperwork says in my mortgage that all of this money goes to principal. None of it goes to interest. I've just saved. Look what happened. Look what happened when I do this. I just killed nearly $3,000 in interest with $603.30 I could get from my bank account, making 0.1% while it's sitting in the bank. Do you see what we're talking about here? All right. We see what we're talking about. All right. So let me see here. Let me put this in here. All right. All right. Thank you. So when we talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to save nearly $3,000 in interest if we do this. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So what happens? That's money we don't have to pay, and thus payments we don't have to make. So you just reduce your payments by 3 and save $3,000 in interest. Okay. All righty. And what we're going to learn next is what we can do if you have less money and you don't have a whole lot of money. Okay. We're going to save you even more money. Watch this. Watch this. It's called the power of the penny. So Don, we just learned that $200 in interest, $200. If I pay prepaid $200, it saves me about $1,000 in interest. Okay. Look at this. What would happen? Go back. What would happen if I only had $100? I have half the money. I got $100. What would happen if I prepaid $100? That would mean you save half the interest. $500 in interest? Yeah, that's exactly what would happen. If I prepaid $50, how much would it save you? It would save you $250 in interest. All right. What? What would happen? What would happen if we had $25? I only have $25. It would save you $125 in interest. Is it still worth it if all I have is $25? Is it worth it if I only have $12.50 if I could save $75? Listen, let me ask you this. $3.13. $3.13. If you gave me $3.13 and I gave you back $18.75, how many times would you all do that? How many times would you do that? Just put it in the chat for me. How many times would you do that? You give me $3.13. I give you back $18.75. Does that sound crazy to you? Well, let me tell you what's not so crazy. For $3.13, the bank has to, on this mortgage, makes it impossible for them to charge you $18.75 every time you do it. For $3.13, $18.75 comes off your bill. Where else can you invest $3.13 and instantly guaranteed get a return on your money of $18.75? Man, oh man. Dwayne Ross, what are you saying, Dwayne? Dwayne says, give me that money. Give me the money. Son lastly said, where do I sign? Okay, he says all day. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. All right. So listen. Okay, let me see here. Watch this. All right, I gotta put something here. All right, there we go. So we are going to look at this a little bit differently. We're going to look at it a little bit differently. And the reason why we're going to take a look at this a little bit differently is this. I pick up pennies in the parking lot. Do you? Do you pick up pennies in the parking lot? Because we're going to keep cutting this. We're going to keep cutting this in half. $1.56 saves you $9.38. 20 cents saves you $1.18. We're going to take this thing all the way down to a penny. Why does Don pick up pennies in the parking lot? Listen, if that embarrasses you, if you're walking with me and I'm stopping to pick up a penny, and if that embarrasses you, then you don't need to walk with me, because I'm going to stop and pick up that penny. I don't care how dirty it is. Why? Because on this mortgage, it's going to save me 7 cents. Lord have mercy.
Guys,
No!
It is true. I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
Okay? Come on. I'm going to stop and pick it up. So this is the power of leverage. Leverage means this. I pay a penny. I don't have to pay 7 cents. That is true leverage. Okay? Isolating the principal amounts. Okay? How do we do that? Let me show you something here. We're going to show you what would happen if I take $2,456 and a penny. This is how much I would pay in 1 year on this loan. $2,456 and a penny. That's all of the principal payments added up. Okay. So here's my question for you, ladies and gentlemen. Do I have to pay the bank $2,456 and a penny all in 12 monthly installments? Do I have to do it in 12 monthly installments, or could I pay it all at once? If I paid it all at once, let's say I had it in the bank. $2,456 and a penny. Let me pay it on line one. Do you realize they have to subtract $2,456 and a penny from what I owe? Do you want to see the math? Let's put it on the screen. Okay, let's put it on the screen. $200,000. I'm going to subtract $2,456 and a penny. This is what I have left. $197,543.99. That's exactly what was on my amortization schedule. Exactly. Okay. So are you saying, Don, if I pay this in 1 month, I'm paid all the way down to here in 1 month? Yeah. You make your regular payment and then give them the rest of the money. You're paid down to here in 1 month. Then what happens to all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12? What happens to them? Okay. What happens to them? All right. All right. Let's see here. Let me see here. We are. Okay. All right. So do you see here? If I pay down to here in 1 month, you know my next mortgage payment is on line 13. You still have to make a payment every month. You still have to make a payment every single month. Here's what is happening. Here's what happens. I pay on line 1. I give them the rest of the 2456 on line 1. I'm paid down to line 12 in 1 month. My next mortgage payment is on line 13. I just cut out 11 mortgage payments I never have to make because I gave them the money when I wanted to instead of when they were expecting it. And now I'm on line 13 of the schedule. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. What happens next? What happens next is this. I just saved all that interest between line 12 and line 2 and line 12. I never have to pay it. I just saved nearly $12,000 in interest I never have to pay, giving the bank the same amount of money to pay down my loan. But I didn't do it over 12 months. I did it in 1. And because of that, I kill payments, I shrink my amortization schedule, and I save a ton of interest. How much interest did I pay to pay my loan down to line 12 when I give them the money up front? I paid $1,000 in interest. $1,000 in interest. I did not pay $11,933.19 in interest. It makes all the difference. Makes all the difference. That's what's happening. Yeah, that's how much interest we save. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at isolation of how we're going to take a look at isolation and leverage. Can I show you? I'm going to give you an example of isolation and leverage right now. Here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take this off the screen. We're going to bring up an amortization schedule, and I'm going to show you isolation of principal amounts and leverage. And if you want to ask questions about this, come to the stage if you want to ask questions about this, because you can learn a lot. Are you ready? Are you ready to learn? Here we go. Let's take this off. All right. Let's bring up an amortization schedule. There it is. Okay. Here, and I'm also going to put this in the chat so that you guys can have that. Okay. We're going to put it in the chat so you guys can have it. There it is. All right. So we're going to put in our $200,000 mortgage that we've been working with. We're going to use the same 6%. All right. So I can show you this is where it came from. Okay. So $200,000 at 6%. My payment is $1199.10. Everything that I showed you is true. All right. And I gave you that. We're going to put that in the chat for you so you can have it and you can do it on your own. And you can see that it's true. 115. It's 115.838%. Now, we just learned by prepaying $200 saves us nearly $1,000 in interest on this loan. We also learned that if I prepay $2,456, I can take off. Listen, I can remove a whole year off my mortgage in 1 month because of the amortization schedule. Why? Because I attack the loan with the principal payment. I attack the loan with the principal payment. Here's what you need to know about this. You control the loan when you control the principal payment. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments you skip don't matter. Interest payments you skip do not matter, ladies and gentlemen. So once we understand this, and I showed you what would happen if we prepaid the 2456, but understanding leverage and understanding how much money to pay and when to pay is very important. There's a point at which more is too much. Okay. Do you want to save the maximum amount of interest that you possibly can per dollar? Put a yes or a no in the chat, please. Do you want to save the maximum amount of money that you possibly can per dollar? Yes or no, put it in the chat. Because I'm getting ready to show you something. I'm going to put something on the screen. We're going to put a calculator on the screen. There it is. But you can prepay any amount. I went down to a whole chart, and I prepaid a ton of different amounts. You can prepay a penny, you can prepay $1,000 or $10,000, and you can knock off quite a bit. But I'm going to give you just two choices, and I'm going to show you why it becomes dangerous to pay more money than you should. Okay, are you ready to learn this? You won't see this anywhere else but here. Okay, and I'm going to show you the numbers. You have a choice of prepaying $2,456 and a penny because you have plenty of money in the bank. When you do that, you're going to knock off a whole year and save about $11,000 in interest. You like that? But look at line 24. It's only a little bit more. Do you know anybody who has $5,000 in the bank? On this mortgage, do you realize $5,000 would knock off 2 years? It instantly turns this from a 30-year loan into a 28-year loan for just $5,063.50. This is why the bank does not want you to know what's going on. Why do they want you to know? Because it would save you $23,000 in interest and knock off 2 years. Do you know what your return on investment would be? You know what your return on investment would be if you did that? Let's see. $2,456 and a penny. All right. This is what I would pay. This is what I would receive, right? So let me show you what your return on investment is. It's 11,933.19. 11,933.19. And we're going to divide it by 2456.01. This is how, if you go on Google and say, how do I figure out return on investment or ROI? You take what your benefit is, divide it by what you paid, and then multiply that answer by 100. So we're going to do that equals, and now we're going to multiply it by 100. 485% return. 485% return on your money. This is why the bank does not want you to know this, because if you take that money and invest it in your mortgage and not pay that interest, that means you got the same amount of principal, the same amount of equity, and because you did not have to pay that interest, that is a 485% return on your money. Where else are you going to get that? This is why the bank does not want you to know this, because they want to make that money. But now, if you're saving that money, that means that's money you don't have to pay and you can invest somewhere else. Lord have mercy. 485%. So if I have plenty of money in the bank, which one do I want to pay? Line 12 or line 24? Line 12 or line 24? Well, let me show you what happens when you prepay line 12. And we're going to write down the notes. We're going to write it down. Okay. Here's what happens when I prepay line 12. Okay. I'm going to put in my 11,933.19. Got two. Okay. All right. I got a little happy there. 11,933.19. All right. And I'm going to divide it by what I'm paying, 2,456 and a penny. Do you realize when I do that, that tells me how much interest I'm paying per dollar? I'm saving per dollar. All right. That's very important. You have to know your measurements. If you can't optimize what you cannot measure, you cannot optimize what you cannot measure. Remember that. So we're going to divide it by 2,000 divided by 2,456.01 equals $4, 4.858. So because this 8 is 5 or greater, we have to round up this 5 to a 6. So it's $4.86. By putting $1 on this mortgage at this place, you save $4.86 for every dollar. Even if you only paid $1 extra, $4.86. Lord, mercy. Listen, that gives me a whole new appreciation of my dollar and how much they're actually making off me. And this is why they don't want me to know and want you to know what happens when you prepay $1. It means it makes it impossible for them to charge you $4.86. That's what that means. Okay. So $4.86, I'm writing that down in my notes. You might want to write it down in your notes, $4.86. So what would happen if I prepaid this amount? $5,000, I get to knock off 2 years and I save 23 grand in interest. We're going to put that on the screen. How much am I saving per dollar? How much am I saving per dollar? I'm going to put 23,000. Let's clear this out. Okay. 23,714. All right. And 90 cents. All right. All right, Floyd Brown, Colette, I believe it depends on what outcome you want. So you can start at $1. Okay. Colette is asking, do I have to pay the 5K at once? Well, you want to pay it in this. If you pay it in the same month, this is what you're going to get as a result. You can pay it over several months. You can put $1,000 a month for 5 months, but the amount of interest that you would save would be different. Okay. The amount of interest that you save would be different. We're going to get into what to do and how to do it. And we're going to make the math easy because, I don't like doing a whole bunch of math. I like putting my stuff into a computer and let the computer do the math. Okay. How many of you carry a paper map in your car? Carry a paper map in your car? Or do you just bring out your phone and say, listen, Waze, how do I get from Don's house in Alabama and how do I get to Sean Tenkay's house in Florida? All right. I'm going to ask Waze, and Waze is going to get me there. I don't have a paper map. Okay. So why don't we just stick everything into a computer that's designed to beat the bank at their own game? Boom. That's what we're talking about. $23,000. Okay. That's how much I saved. How much am I going to prepay? So I'm going to divide it by the $5,063.50. Boom. Here's what I get. $4.68. What? Before I'm getting $4.86 for every dollar. Now I'm saving $4.68 for every dollar. Here is my question to all of you. If you knew that you could get $4.86 for every dollar that you didn't have to pay in interest, should you ever have to settle for $4.68? I'm just asking. Did you know that there is a point at which more is too much? It's called the law of diminished return. Can I break this down for you just a little bit more? I have a client right here in Huntsville, Alabama, who's using this program. Okay. And he's an engineer. He's making more money now than he's ever made in his life. So, but when he started out, he wasn't making as much money as he is now. So he can tell our program how much more money he's making. And because of that, He is now going to be out of debt to pay off the last $263,000 on his mortgage that he owes. Okay. Last 263,000, and he's going to pay it off in 3.5 years. The amount of interest that he's going to pay, because our program will tell you that, how much interest he's going to pay, is $16,000. Okay. He was so proud to bring me that information. And I told him, I said, you're paying off the house too fast and you're not paying enough interest. He was shocked. I said, what do you mean? I thought that was the whole point. I said, well, here's some things you're not looking at. Okay. So go to your program, pull it up. It's the P.I.L.L method opportunity cost calculator, or OCC, the P.I.L.L method opportunity cost calculator. Pull it up and tell the program you're now making $2,000 a month less. I need you to pull back some of that good money you're making. Tell the program you're making $2,000 a month less and see what happens. So he changed the parameters, and this is what happened. The program gave him new information. You're now going to pay off the $263,000 that you owe in 6.5 years, not 3.5. Oh, you're now going to pay $20,000 in interest, not $16,000 in interest. He says, Don, how is that better? You're losing the argument here, man. Okay. He said, so I said, well, it sounds like you want to get out of debt in 3.5 years. He said, well, yes, I do. Okay. Because that was my whole thing, how to get out of debt fast. Okay. So I said, well, what would you have to do? He says, I would have to tell the program I'm still making that $2,000 a month. For what? For the next 3.5 years? He said, yes, because that's when I'm going to be out of debt. Well, let's add it up. 36 months, 3 years is 36 months. A half year is 6 months. Add it all up, that's 42 months, correct? He says, that's correct. That means you're going to give the bank an extra $2,000 a month average for the next 42 months. How much is that total? 42 months times $2,000 a month, that's $84,000. So here's my question to you. Do you want to give the bank $84,000 so that you can pay $16,000 in interest instead of $20,000 in interest? In other words, $84,000 applied to your mortgage saves you just $4,000 more in interest. Is that how you want to spend your money? He said, what do you think he said? He said, no. I said, because we're taught not to measure. The reason why you want to get out of debt, folks, is not how fast you can get out of debt. It's how cheaply you can get out of debt. Don is cheap. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm cheap. I don't want to give the bank another penny more than I have to give them. I'm going to pay them the least amount of interest that's mathematically possible. And so can you. So can you. That's what's going on here. So we just learned, Mom Led and me says, sign me up. Okay. Sign me up. Because we have to go over that. You want to go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com. And this is what you want to do, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I'm going to put that on the screen. Go to ice10k.com. Okay. Somebody said, sign me up. All right. Ice10k.com. Boom. There it is. All right. Ice10k.com. And when you pull it up, look here, you got, is that Eric Thomas, the #1 motivational speaker on the entire planet? And he says, there's a video of him saying, I paid off my mortgage using the P.I.L.L method. You better believe it. That's what that is. Okay. So, but when you scroll down underneath his picture, what do you see? Get a savings and earnings report. That's using Sean 10K's card. This is his invention, but we're using it to help a bunch of people. So you click on that. And when you click on it, look what it takes you. It takes you to here. Don't waste another dollar paying off the wrong debt. Get your free savings report. Uh-oh. How did that word get in there? Free? Free 99? Get your free savings report so you can know the month, day, and year you could be debt-free and how much interest you can save. How about that? Man, oh man. So how would you like to know that for free? It's a 2-step process. Just follow the rules. Just follow the rules. Just, follow the 2 steps. put your information in here, and then we'll let you into the financial piece. You put your finances in there, and we will tell you how the month, day, and year you're going to be debt free, and how much interest you can save. Not only that, but the interest you could save, we're going to give you some idea as to how much money that can earn for you instead of giving it to the bank. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. And you're only going to hear it here at the P.I.L.L method. Okay. Get your savings and earnings report. All right. So let's understand what's really going on here. Okay. Can I show you? Can I show you? This is the opportunity cost calculator. This is it. This is what you get. You get coaching. You get the opportunity cost calculator. And now we're going to go. We went over prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Understanding liquidity means you can use all of your finances to help you. Can I talk about liquidity? And we're going to point it out here. Okay. We talked about prepayment of principal, knowing how to measure so you know how much interest you're saving per dollar and you want to save the most. The I stands for isolating the principal amount. How much do you pay and when do you pay it? Isolating that out. All right. Leverage means finding the least amount of money you can pay and getting the biggest benefit, the biggest bang out of your buck. I want to pay the least amount to save the most interest. I don't want to pay any more than that. And the reason why I don't want to pay any more than that is because there's a certain point where it doesn't make sense to save additional interest with the amount of money I have to put into it. So take that money instead and invest it to make money. So when you find that sweet spot, and we're going to help you, what is the sweet spot? How much money do I want to put towards debt reduction? When I find the sweet spot, I can take the rest of the money and put it towards wealth creation simultaneously, saving money and making money, using your current budget so you can turn your finances into $1 million. All right. So watch this. Just as John and Rebecca Jones. Okay. So what they're doing. So we'll show you liquidity here. All right. Liquidity means you can look at all of your funds, your credit cards, everything, and know how to use your money better. Okay. I got money in the bank. Can I show you something? We're going to go over this on a different show. Money in the bank, money on my credit card. Can I show you just one example of what I'm talking about? Here's what it is. John and Rebecca Jones, for their emergency fund, keep a small amount of money in the bank. You know what makes up their real emergency fund? Their credit card. What? Using my credit, that goes completely against Dave Ramsey. I want to use my credit card instead of cash. Okay, so can I show you something? Can I show you what I'm talking about here? I just want to show you what I'm talking about. We're going to bring Brett Whistle back. Okay, we're going to bring him back. All right, and we're going to do 2 of these. I'm going to show you something. I got a $10,000. I got a $10,000 credit card. Okay. 27% interest. That's hurting people right there. 27% interest on $10,000. Every financial guru on the planet would say, this loan is killing you. You need to pay that off. And I'm trying to tell you, I use cards exclusively. My go-to card is a credit card. My emergency card is my debit card. Okay. My debit card never sees the light of day. Never. So I'm looking at this and say, oh, okay. If you're trying to figure out credit cards, you want to put 240 here where 360 is. 240 instead of 360. All credit cards are amortized over 240 months. So we're going to calculate that. So my interest on this loan is $225. That's what it costs me 1 month to have $10,000 on my card. So I've got $10,000 in the bank. I've got a credit card that's got $25,000 on it. And John and Rebecca Jones have an emergency that costs $10,000. What should they do? Take $10,000 out of the bank and pay for their emergency? or $10,000 on their credit card and pay for their emergency. Remember, here is their mortgage, $200,000 mortgage, $200,000 mortgage at 6%. Okay, 6% interest versus 27% interest. This is how we're taught to look at it. And I've even heard people talk about that, man, that is what? 4 to 5 times the interest rate. That credit card is charging you 4 to 5 times more. You need to get rid of the credit card. 4 to 5 times more than your mortgage. Well, that's a fallacy. Let me show you the numbers. All right. Let me show you the numbers. So, John and Rebecca Jones, they're going to, because they're following the P.I.L.L method, okay? They're going to take $10,000. They're going to take their credit card and pay for their emergency. All right. And in the first month of using that credit card, how much interest did they pay in the first month? $0. $0. They paid $0. Not only that, but if they listen to the P.I.L.L method, they're going to choose a card. Okay. Let's say they paid for their emergency on the 15th of the month. Okay. They're going to choose a card that has a closing date of the 14th of the month. What? The card closed on the 14th of the month. They paid for their emergency on the 15th of the month. Do you realize that? And their bill is due on the 30th of the month. So if they do that, then that bill will not show up next month. So if they paid it on like in January, if they paid for it on the 15th of January, but their card closed, the closing date or the transaction date is closed on the 14th of the month, that's the time the credit card says, we have to stop, calculate how much interest they owe so it can be on the February bill. It closed on the 14th. Everything before the 14th will be on the February bill. But if I buy it on the 15th, if I pay for my emergency on the 15th, it will not be on the February bill. I don't have to pay for it till March 30. How many days do I get to use their money for free? And if I pay it off before March 30, I don't owe them a dime of interest, not even a dime. But let's just say I decide to pay them some interest. How much interest would I pay them? $225. I get to use it from January to March 30 for free. On March 31, I owe $225. Let's just say I kept that and I paid them the $225. This is why John and Rebecca Jones did this, because I can use the bank's money and it cost me $225 for the month in interest. I can take that $10,000. Watch this now. Watch this. I need you to look at cumulative principal because we're going to put $10,000. They said I can put that $10,000 on my mortgage. I'm going to go down the cumulative principal here to $10,000. This is what the experts are telling you, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we mean by liquidity. You want to know what your money is costing you. You want to know how to use your money better. And I'm telling you, cash is trash. Cash is not king. It is the wise use of somebody else's money that's going to save you money. I'm going to borrow the bank's money to pay for my emergency, and it's going to cost me $225. I'm going to take my money, put it on this mortgage, and knock off 45 payments I never have to make and save myself $43,000 in interest. So here's my question to you all. Would you pay $225 in order to save $43,939.97 interest on your mortgage and knock off 45 payments? That's all I got to ask. We just went over prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the P.I.L.L method. And if you want to know more about how to get your own opportunity cost calculator, here it is. Get your savings and earnings report. Not only that, go back to that same card, ice10k.com. Okay, ice10k.com. All right, and look at the bottom of the page. Become an affiliate today and make between $300 and $3,000 a month as an affiliate. Yeah, $300 to $3,000 a month as an affiliate. You're not going to get anything right away. You will get an email. You will get an email within a week of what to do and how to do. All right, and you're going to be informed when we have affiliate training. Okay, make between $300 and $3,000 a month. Not only that, but get my book. Those are the three things. Get your savings and earnings report, get the book, all right, and become an affiliate. I want to thank everybody. We are about 2 minutes over time. I want to thank everybody for being here, all right. I see Colette, all right, says, even if the credit card bill is due in March, don't you get 5 to 10 days after the due date? Yeah, but that does not mean, I'm not talking about being late, Colette. I'm talking about when the interest is paid. That's what I'm talking about. When do they start charging interest? That's the only thing I'm talking about right here. All right, John Richardson says, you taught me that years ago. All right, John, I remember you, brother. Okay, he's right here. And Momlet says, sign me up. Floyd Brown says, boom. All right. Listen, I see your comments here, and I want to thank all of you very much for being here today. I want to thank Sean 10K for being in here. I want to thank our production team for being here today. And so we're going to be back here on Sunday. And what is our, what are we talking about on Sunday? The P.I.L.L method versus the debt snowball. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
Pay-per-view.
Okay, because even Sean recognizes what that's about. It's going to be the P.I.L.L method versus Dave Ramsey, and which system is best. And I'm going to tell you, there's a clear delineation between what's best for your money. The P.I.L.L method or Dave Ramsey. Let's talk about it. P.I.L.L method versus the debt snowball. We're going to be here Sunday at 8:30 a.m. All right. And live, be here. So Sean, 30 seconds. Last word.
Yeah, so first, well done. Thank you so much for being here. And I heard you mention to the affiliate members that it will take them a week to get information. Sorry, we're going to shrink that down to 24 hours. So anyone that registers as an affiliate with Don, in 24 hours, we'll have you straight. For anyone who wants to check out the 7-day event we have going on, go to ceoshawn.com/7 days. See you on the other side. Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're out. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas, and then we're out. We'll see you on Sunday. And for all of you that applies, happy Sabbath to you all. I will be in church tomorrow, but we'll be back here on Sunday. Bye-bye.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.